Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. A very, very special day here on Talking Fitchburg. Adam Dorn from the Fitchburg Fire Department has lined up an amazing guest, a longtime firefighter from the city of Chicago, and so honored to have him on the show. I'm going to turn it over to Adam, who's actually going to introduce the guest today. And today's focus is on safety when it comes to firefighters and talking about cancer prevention. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the month, very important topic, and we've got the expert here, if you will, today. So Dorn, introduce us to our amazing guest.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for having us back on the show and allowing us to have this awesome segment. Like you said, we've got an awesome guest today. He comes from the City of Chicago Fire Department with, I believe he said it was 30 years of experience on the job. He's been retired for about 14. He's a former lieutenant, and his name is Paul Enhelder. He is a fabulous guy. I met him through the Milwaukee Honor Guard Clinic a number of years ago. So I will not take up any more of his time and let you get right to it. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
It's an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for the introduction. I am not an expert on any of this, far from it, since it's ever evolving and ever changing every day, along with our fire service in the world. Cancer has become an epidemic for us, and we are learning through science how to combat it, and basically how to minimize our cancer risk.
Yeah, it's Dorn and I had talked about this earlier in the month, and it is something that, to me, that's come up in the forefront maybe in the last 10 years. We're actually hearing it in the public. But Paul, from what you've seen from your years on firefighting, take us back to a time when we may just didn't know.
Okay, July of '77, I come on the job to the fire academy. We got trained to use an MSA, demand regulator mask, which meant we only got air if we sucked it in from our mask. We didn't have them when we come out in the field. The squad companies, the rescue companies were starting to get them. So approximately a year and a half, 2 years, we didn't have an MSA. We went in like the old timers did. And made sure we knew where the windows are once we broke them to get fresh air. We learned how to suck air on the floor because there's usually about an inch or so of air on every floor when you're crawling on a floor. We never washed our gear. It was a very big sign of you were doing it all the time. You were a busy company with dirty helmets, dirty gear. So basically, when we did finally get the mask about 2.5 years on the job, we used them sparingly because that's just not how you did it, or that's not how we were trained. Even though it was a smart thing to do and we could do a better job with an MSA or a Scott Air Pack, whatever the case may be, we didn't use them as much as we should have. And then we started using them all the time. Bosses started getting demanding and telling us to wear, So then, over the years, we still never washed our gear. The only time when we got the firefighting hoods, the only time my hood got washed is when I was soaking wet and I wrung it out and let it dry. So approximately about 10 years ago, we started realizing how many members were dying of cancer. As Adam will tell you, and I can tell you, we've done many, many funerals of our brothers, active and retired. Especially for me in Chicago, I've done about 20 funerals a year of retired guys who basically have died of cancer. We're seeing firefighters all over this country dying of cancer. Some of them, unfortunately, not getting covered because they weren't on the job long enough. So science is starting, and they've really come a long way with helping us understand what we must do to, and I stress this word, minimize our cancer risk. We're not going to get rid of cancer in the fire service, but we certainly have ways now through science to minimize it. And that's when I got involved with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. I wanted to find another phase in my teaching career as a retiree to help our brothers and sisters who have had cancer or are dying of cancer or going to get cancer. So that has been my mission for probably 6-7 years now. of teaching, trying to change the attitudes, the culture. It's a very hard ingrained culture of cleaning your gear. You know, it used to be the old story. You get the candidate and tell him, hey, go wash the captain's helmet. He'll love you for it. And no, that was not the case. The captain would be furious that his dirty helmet was washed. So,
yeah, amazing stories there. And for people that they're not in the fire service, right? They're not firefighters out there. What are you battling inside that's causing the cancer? Where is this stuff coming from? That's in the air. That's in the zones that you're working in.
okay. Every product gives off smoke. In the average household now, there's approximately a couple 100 pounds of gasoline in the products that you have in your home, plastic products, and it's only become worse and worse. When they burn, their byproducts give off tremendous amount of cancer-causing agents. We suck them up if we're not wearing SCBA. Our skin absorbs them. So these type of chemicals, and now we're also finding out that the foam that we use for ages is a cancer-causing agent, and the flame retardant materials in our fire codes were cancer-causing agents. We're still learning more and more about that, but there's so many more lawsuits, and you can see them on Facebook all the time now. All these lawyers have clammed on to these lawsuits about the foam. All right, so we're still learning more. We're learning more about the clean cab concept. All right, besides making sure our gear is clean after every fire. So these cancer-causing agents, they attack our bodies in so many different ways. And by the time we find out about it, because a lot of departments didn't do physicals yearly, and they encourage their members through their insurance companies and stuff. So these cancer-causing agents got ingrained and got a nice strong foothold inside our systems. So by the time we found them, it was too late. So nowadays we encourage every department, every firefighter to at least get a once-a-year physical. As a retiree, I go every 6 months because of my lifestyle as a firefighter, because I want to try and cut it off at the pass.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, and you know, I'm glad you said it off the top that, you know, that it's an ongoing thing. This is an ongoing piece that you're learning about. And Dorn, just to bring you back in on this and connect it to Fitchburg, are we working towards goals to, and I know the answer to this, but we know you're working on goals to improve this every single day. What are some of those steps that you're doing right here in Fitchburg?
Yeah, so right now what we're doing in Fitchburg is that we are making sure that after a call or we've been to a fire, we try to get baby wipes available to all our crews that were on scene so we can wipe down our hands, our faces, our necks. Where we touch the most, where it would most likely be absorbed into our bodies, the easiest routes. Get those cleaned off as best as we can while we're on scene. When we get back, everybody takes a shower. Make sure we do a gross decon of our gear on scene before we leave. That would mean we're brushing it off, or we're hosing ourselves off, we're hosing off our equipment. Once that equipment is hosed off or brushed off, we're putting it in a bag and then putting that bag somewhere else in the truck where it's not with us in the cab. So kind of along the lines of that clean cab concept Paul had talked about. Those are some of the real big ones that we're trying to get focused on, because like Paul said, it's one of those things where the culture's been there for so long that we don't need to do these things. But yet in the last 10 years, we've really noticed a huge increase that we are aware of, where cancer is really is the cause, and we're trying to minimize that as much as possible. And one of the things that comes to mind when we were talking with Paul was, you know, how did Paul, maybe you can help me out on this.
Sure.
One. You know, the whole idea of teaching a young firefighter, how to retire because how to be a good firefighter. And I forget how that line goes, but your goal isn't just to how do you teach a young firefighter to be good? It's to teach them how to be an old firefighter.
That's correct.
Like Paul?
How old firefighters' duty is to teach young firefighters how to become old firefighters.
That's what it is. You would be much more eloquent.
And sorry, go ahead, Paul.
We were talking about it. I have handouts, and I believe I taught in Pittsburgh, correct, Adam?
I honestly don't remember. I don't.
Yeah, I've taught for so many Wisconsin departments, I don't remember them all. But anyways, part of the handouts I give is a list of chemicals. There's 32 chemicals on this page that is in smoke, carcinogens. And those are the main chemicals, and they become a toxic soup that we absorb through our skin, that we suck through our eyes and nose and mouth if we're not wearing SCBAs out there. So, and there's more and more being added. We know every day in this world there are chemicals being developed and made. All right. And one of the things that I really talk about is it's our duty. Even if your city doesn't track it, you as a firefighter, you owe it to your family and yourself to make a documentation after every fire, after every exposure to smoke. There are many different forms out there. Phoenix has got one they've been using for years. Phoenix, when you retire, gives you a thumb drive with every single fire that you've been to. So that when you do get cancer, you can prove that cancer was caused by your job, because so many departments will fight that. Unfortunately, it's becoming less, but there are still many departments that will fight that and the lawyers and insurance companies will say, prove that your cancer was caused by the job. I know a firefighter in Indianapolis has spent a lot of money for a lawyer to go through all the journals of all the fire company he was on for 15 years to document every fire. So that's a great way for each individual to protect himself and his family.
It's an incredible thing to think about, that every time you're exposed, every time, no matter what, and how many times, and in a career of firefighter, that could be hundreds, it could be thousands, depending where you're at. We're gonna hold off here. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll pick up some more here on the other side of the break and continue our talk here.
Sure.
With Paul from the former city of Chicago Fire Department, but so much more. We'll break that all down here. Stay tuned. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
Okay.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Continuing our special interview today, we have former Chicago firefighter Paul Enhelder. And Paul, we're continuing our discussions talking about cancer being tied to firefighters, as it's Cancer Prevention Awareness for firefighters here in the month of January. As we continue our talk, we've kind of talked about how the fires get cancer. You've talked a little bit about some of the screening process, but take us through a little bit of the stuff that you're teaching, that you're sharing with firehouses across this nation on containing this and opening up the eyes to people who are non-believers or not really pulling their grasp on what's going on here.
Sure. When I teach a class, I give a lot of handouts. I try to emphasize to them that for a lot of the cancers that some people get in our general population, we're 3-4 times more likely to get those cancers out there. And that in this day and age, there are so many things through science that we've learned that we can do to change our culture and our habits to minimize our cancer risk. And I ask them all, I says, if you really love your family and you want to be around for a while, do you want to be around to walk your daughter down the aisle if you have daughters? Do you want to be around to retire and collect some of that money or whatever? These are the things that we must do to minimize our cancer risk. Physicals, very, very important. The International Association of Fire Chiefs has got a Healthcare Provider's Guide to Firefighter Physicals. It's highly recommended by the International Fire Chiefs, the International Fire Safety Officers Organizations, and it's put out by Firefighter Safety Through Advanced Research, FSTR, and it can be gotten online and handed to your doctor. Several years back when I first got this and realized that I had some tests in my annual physical that the doctor and insurance company didn't want to recommend. So when I gave my doctor this 3-page sheet, and it tells the doctor why we need these tests and at what age and such, the insurance company approved it. So I've never had any problems with getting it done ever since out there. I highly recommend that guys go to these different supplements. The Illinois Fire Service Institute has done a tremendous amount of studies on the cancer on the fire ground at the institute. They had chips put in individuals. They did all kinds of body temperatures, all kinds of stuff. Downwind, what were you exposed to? How close to the fire were you being exposed to these carcinogens? And they found that even 20 feet from the fire, depending on the wind conditions, you are being exposed to these deadly chemicals. There are particulates that are in there that a lot of times we can't see. Over the years, we never wore an SCBA. We were all dying to take off our air packs as soon as the fire was declared out. But during the overhaul stage, we have found that it's the worst time to take your air pack off. Even though it's cloudy in that room and a little smoky, there's tiny particulates in there that we're sucking up that are doing tremendous amount of damage to our bodies out there. These days, through science and research, they've come up with the clean cab concept. Because every fire, we would just get back in that cab with our dirty gear, our dirty equipment, and we would contaminate the cabs. Now manufacturers have come out with clean cabs. They're easy to clean. And of course, they're coming up with compartments that you can put your stuff in so that nothing dirty goes into that cab. There are several departments in Florida that now are completely clean cab concept out there. And more are going to that situation so that they protect their members, because they realize that the more cancers we get, the higher their insurance rates are going to go up. And that's a big thing for every community out there. And now that we have all these different protocols, insurance companies see that your firefighters are having a high rate of cancers. They're going to look at your protocols. They're going to look at your general orders and see, are you doing everything you can according to what science is telling us to do to minimize your members' cancer risk? If you're not, they're going to raise your cancer rates. They're going to raise your insurance rates or deny you altogether.
I was going to say it would probably make you uninsurable, and then it just puts it back on the city, back to the taxpayer, and it's a no-win situation for sure. Continuing that talk, you kind of mentioned about the apparatus, but something that also stands out, and maybe because our fire department has seen 2 new stations go in recent years, and we've seen some of the things you've talked about today actually applied to the fire department. But talk about even back at the firehouse, that is a breeding ground as well. And some fire departments we were talking that have been there for years, and fire departments don't just come and go, right? They're permanent structures. So how do you adapt these same techniques in the firehouse?
Well, one of the major issues is diesel exhaust. So departments over the years have and manufacturers come up with diesel exhaust systems that are hooked up to your exhaust system and break away from your exhaust system as you are pulling out of the firehouse. We have positive pressure rooms now in firehouses. We have signs everywhere saying no bunker gear past this point, so that you're not bringing the bunker gear into the day room, the kitchen, your sleeping quarters, the office. So you're not contaminating those areas out there. Manufacturers have come up with devices to make diesel exhaust cleaner. Some claim it's 99% cleaner, but I don't believe that in the very least. There's additives that you can add to diesel fuels now. But the bottom line is diesel fuel is a #1 carcinogen, according to the World Chemical Organizations. So it's something that we really never paid that much attention to out there. So it's important that our firehouses designers are now coming up with positive pressure rooms for you to shower in, change in, get rid of your dirty gear, and keep all these carcinogens from the apparatus floor out of the general living areas.
Yeah, all great tips. Paul, as we start to wrap up here, I have no doubt that you share some heartwarming stories, and it even makes me tear up just thinking about everything that you've seen, everything that you go through, and the amount of people that you see pass away every year that have been a part of a service, but also have ended up with cancer. What's the final piece that you leave as you're closing out some of these trainings that might be that final piece to push somebody over the edge to think twice? That's an active firefighter and protecting them so they can enjoy that life down the road.
I tell them to go, and I show a video, which actually we can't do here. I show them a video of the Boston guys, active members that had cancer, were dying of cancer, and after they did this video, several are no longer with us. I tell them about their families. I ask them about their families. Do they want to be around for their families? If they do, they need to follow the 11 suggestions from the Cancer Support Network: cleaning your gear, using face wipes at fires, taking the shower immediately when you get back to headquarters, and probably one of the most important things is getting a physical every year. To me, that's so much more important, because they say cancer starts showing its ugly head for retirees anywhere from 10 years and beyond out there.
Wow.
So it's very important to try and catch it cut it off the pass, catch it at the beginning. And one of the other tools that we now have, or will have very shortly, is our U.S. Health Organization has come up with a survey that they would like every firefighter to go online and register for, so that we can better understand what's being done with us, what these chemicals, what our profession is doing to our bodies.
Yeah, Paul, I cannot thank you enough for sharing all the information that you have today. I hope for those firefighters who watch today, hopefully that this is an eye-opener for them if they're not already taking those precautions. Adam Dorn, to appreciate you sharing with us this month, bringing the topic to the forefront. It's something we've never talked about on this show before until now. And I think it's great for people, residents and beyond, for people who aren't in the fire department to know what's happening behind the scenes. These are real things that are happening. And we're so grateful for all public safety out there for what you do day in and day out and have done. Paul, you have an open door here to come back and visit us anytime here at Talking Fitchburg. And thank you so much for your time. And again, all the service that you have provided and will continue to provide down the road.
Thank you so much, Adam. I was very honored. Jeremy, very honored to do this. Very honored to help advance for the betterment of the fire service and for our family out there, so we don't have to go to as many funerals as we do go to out there. And I'd be honored to come back anytime, help out. So thank you again very much, guys. Have a good and happy new year, and maybe Jeremy will see you in Milwaukee for Honor Guard Clinic.
We'll see. I don't know. I've heard some of the stories from you guys. It sounds very interesting.
It's a very wild time, and I promise to bring a big bottle of monkey shoulder. Adam knows what I'm talking about.
I was told that Paul is definitely a good kidder as well. So maybe we'll get on that side of things next time. Adam, thank you so much for your time as well. And we'll check back in with you soon. And again, appreciate both of your time again here on Talking Fitchburg. We'll take a break. More to come. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.